Removing myths and stigma. The first one we have is bad parenting causes mental health conditions in adolescence.
This is a myth. However, I would add, for example, as we talked about earlier, childhood trauma or any traumatic event as a youth or as a child can impact your mental health and or mental well-being as you grow up, but that is a myth. Addictions are just about weak willpower.
This is a major misconception as well. What folks don't actually realize is that addictions is actually considered to be a brain illness. It impacts people both physically and psychologically. So this is definitely a myth.
Yeah, and I would add, what makes it difficult for individuals that have addiction is a stigma based on the myth. So as a result, individuals are faced with negative labels like junkie, bucket, and things like that. So as a result, that could lead individuals into further addictions based on their isolation.
Our next one we have here is poor mental health is not a big issue for teenagers under the age of 16 years old.
I would say this is also a myth. As we talked about earlier, depending on if your onset of mental health has been biological, you might see the onset as early as 12, but between 15 to 25, if it's a biological or formal diagnosis, then you'll see the onset come on in and around that time.
Yeah, and sometimes people think just because folks are young that they don't have the same struggles as adults, but the reality is that there's a lot of things that young people could be facing. Sometimes it can be bullying, sometimes it can be family stress, sometimes it's just navigating life challenges. So definitely mental health deeply impacts young people.
Oh, and I liked how you shared that. And I think one thing to add that I would add to that is this identity. As you're coming of age and discovering your identity and becoming your authentic self could face difficulties during that time as well. You only need to take care of mental health if you have been diagnosed with a condition.
This is absolutely false. As we said earlier, mental health and well-being is all about our thoughts, our emotions, our moods, and we really have to recognize that we want to move from a space of looking at only trying to cure things to prevention, right? So each and every one of us have mental health, and as a result, we need to make actions and strides to take care of it.
When we're talking about mental health, we're talking about our well-being, right? As we identified earlier, everyone is impacted by mental health and has challenges, but not everyone will have mental illness. So based on you taking care of your self-care in the way of your well-being, you'll definitely be able to manage.